Howdy, folks. Welcome aboard. I normally say welcome aboard or welcome back, but this is our first version of this particular series for the Doc Owen Show. It is called Saint Cities, presented by the Doc Owen Show, and you're listening to Doc Owen, Dr. Richard Owen, and Ms. I'm a Surefire is in the house.
Howdy, folks.
If you listen to our standard show, our normal show, our weekly show, you know both of us. If you do not, we are glad to have you. Our Monday night show, which is what this is focused on sanctuary cities, period. We will have guests, we will have news, we will have information, we will have data, and we have a brand new idea that we're going to put out there and try to grow nationwide, and it is called Saint Cities, S-A-I-N-T, Cities. We're on the Facebook page. There's a Saint Cities. You can say at Saint Cities to search on Facebook, and you'll find the page. That's where we'll be posting an awful lot of information, and we'll be explaining later on tonight what the Saint, S-A-I-N-T, actually stands for. So, you know, it's not just a reference that you might think. It is actually an acronym for the particular type of sanctuary city that we're going to promote. If you want to sign up for our newsletter, you go to the Doc Owen Show blog at docowenshow.com. Look on the right-hand side. All you got to do is put in your first name, last name, email address, done. Bang. You're in the know. Constantly in the know. We would love to have you. On our usual weekly show, we start everything with in a very traditional manner. Irma presents a kind of inspirational quote. I do a leadership quote, and we have a show historian, Uncle Bocce, that provides us a picture of something that happened historically on that particular day. So Irma and I will start in kind of the same manner, except you'll see it's a little bit more gauged toward the Saint Cities side, or the support of, shall we say, natural traditions, and you'll learn where that's coming from in just a minute. Ms. Surefire, take it away.
Tonight's quote comes from pocketfuel.com. That's P as in Paul, K-T, fuel.com. And this website, Doc shared with me, it's a young couple that wanted to help people find God in everyday life. So tonight's quote comes from the book of Luke, chapter 9, verse 62. Jesus said, "No procrastination, no backward looks. You can't put God's kingdom off till tomorrow. Seize the day." So basically, time is not measured by clocks, but by moments.
I like it.
Thank you.
And my quote comes from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, verse 9. "Be not hasty in thy spirit to be angry, for anger resteth in the bosom of fools." That sums up our approach to sanctuary cities. Let me tell you why we're doing this. About a year ago, sanctuary cities and a thing called Kate's Law and what happened in San Francisco was huge in the news cycle. And anytime something takes over the news cycle, I have a tendency to at least try to step back from it and think, okay, we have a situation here, we have a problem. I always try to present a positive front and an alternate solution rather than as I just stated in Ecclesiastes, rather than getting angry and saying no and pushing back on sanctuary cities. I prefer to offer an alternative, and that's what Saint Cities is all about. As you will learn, you'll get a piece of it tonight, but as we go forward, you will continue to hear about our alternative. So that's kind of the reason for the show is I was sitting out on the front porch and looking over a gorgeous city that I live in, San Antonio, Texas, and the very Christian school where I got my PhD, Our Lady of the Lake University. And I thought, sanctuary cities is really a good idea. But where is my sanctuary? where do folks, do conservative, Christian, constitutional type people, where is our sanctuary? And that's what made me come up with the acronym SAINT and the direction that we're taking this and taking this show. So I hope you enjoy it. We look forward to presenting it to you. We expect Saint Cities on Facebook to be the WFA on sanctuary cities across the United States. And a WFA is the world's foremost authority. So we'll expect you to post and like and send us links and participate in this. And we can be a center for alternative sanctuaries called Saint Cities. And I think you'll like it. Before we dive into it, I went out, as is my custom, to the internet, and I went to YouTube, and I found a thing called the 10th Amendment Center that published a YouTube. I've got the narrative from it. It's about 3.5 minutes long, and it's titled, "What is a Sanctuary City?" So listen up.
Before making a decision on what to do about so-called sanctuary cities, it's important to first understand what they are and what they aren't. Some people are under the impression that a sanctuary city is a place where local government resources are being used to not only actively block federal immigration enforcement, but also to actively harbor and protect people who've violated federal immigration laws. But this couldn't be further from the truth. There is no city and no state in the country with such a policy. None. However, there are dozens of cities and 2 full states with policies that have been labeled as sanctuaries. And here's what they do. In most of the cities, there are expressly written policies or ordinances to ban local law enforcement from arresting people for violations of federal immigration law. This is similar to banning state tax agents from investigating people for violating the U.S. federal tax code. Because federal immigration law falls under federal jurisdiction, a number of these cities have banned local law enforcement from even inquiring about the immigration status of a person they encounter, or informing federal agents of the possible presence of illegal aliens living in their communities. Additionally, 2 states, that's California and Connecticut, have sanctuary city-style laws on the books statewide. Known as the Transparency and Responsibility Using State Tools, or TRUST Act, these laws ban the states from cooperating with or participating in a very narrow area of federal immigration enforcement. Under these state laws, if a person is arrested in the state and is due to be released for whatever they were being held for, they will not be held in custody beyond that time, even if the Federal Department of Homeland Security asks the state to hold them longer for possible immigration violations, which is something that DHS commonly does. More specifically, trust acts are addressing secure communities, a federal program that allows the DHS to access fingerprints taken by local police, to screen detained individuals for immigration status, and to request that local law enforcement agencies hold people for the federal government if they're found to be undocumented. However, what that federal program does not do is provide federal agents to deal with violations of federal law. The federal government, like it does for many federal programs, tries to get states to handle federal enforcement for them, and even foot the bill for it too. state trust acts, and sanctuary city policies expose a serious flaw in federal immigration enforcement tactics and show significant power held by the states over this and other federal programs. As Hans Hermann Hoppe noted in his famous Mises Institute speech titled "What Must Be Done," without local enforcement by compliant local authorities, the will of the central government is not much more than hot air.
So, that should help you with the real understanding of what a sanctuary city is and what a sanctuary city is not. And one of the reasons this bubbled up, presented to back in October of 2015, there was a rumor, or there was a minor effort, let's say, from the local Democrat Party to declare San Antonio a sanctuary city. I took that opportunity to present the following speech, if you will, just a little pitch to the San Antonio City Council. I think you will enjoy it, and afterwards you will understand a little better why this is called Saint Cities by Doc Owen Show. Here we go. I would like to thank Mayor Taylor and members of the San Antonio City Council for allowing me to speak. My name is Dr. Richard Owen, and I will state from the outset that I am unequivocally in favor of San Antonio becoming a sanctuary city. As a matter of fact, I think with a little effort, we could become a shining example of what every sanctuary city in America should aspire to emulate. I would like to paint that picture of an exceptional sanctuary city for you right now. But first, a little background to help you understand. As I discussed this idea around town, I found that many of my fellow citizens thought we already were a sanctuary city. This based somewhat on the way we have conducted our city business. They were surprised to learn, as some in attendance here might be as well, San Antonio is not currently classified as a sanctuary city. Why not, you might ask? Well, simply because we have not declared ourselves to be one. It appears as a major metropolitan area we are expected to have an official position that needs to be stated to our fellow citizens and to the world at large. To that I say, great. We're not too late to join the chorus and get this party started. We can beat all the usual naysayers to the punch. We will create such a ruckus to be a sanctuary city that anyone opposing our effort will appear small, evil, mean-spirited, and just downright selfish. So let me quote the chairman of the Bexar County Democratic Party, Mr. Manuel Medina, from the party's official newsletter dated September the 15th, 2015. Quote, "It is time to advance towards City Hall with a resolution to declare San Antonio a sanctuary city. There are 200-plus sanctuary cities in America, including 13 in Texas. San Antonio is the largest city in America that is not a sanctuary city. Let's stand up for our Democratic Party values and challenge our City Council members to do the right thing. We will be a sanctuary city when City Council passes a resolution that A, supporting President Barack Obama's priority enforcement program that directs cities to protect good people and deport bad people, B, endorsing SAPD Police Chief William McManus' department policy that police officers are not immigration officers, and C, recognizing the city of San Antonio's moral calling to help free Central American women and children detained at the Dilley Detention Center. The approach presented here is what we will call the scallywag version. SCALLYWAG. As you may or may not know, the term scallywag has its origin in the United States following the Civil War, when it was first used by Southern Democrats to refer to a white Southerner who collaborated with the Republican Party and its policy of emancipation. Scallywags were viewed as traitors by their fellow Southerners opposed to Reconstruction legislation. As an acronym, it is an easy way to remember the wrong approach to becoming a sanctuary city. Scallywag stands for Sanctuary City as lawless looting yappers while aborting government. Scallywag. Remember that. So that we all maintain our perspective on Mr. Medina's three-point suggestion to his party members, point A, PEP, to protect good people and deport bad people, I have studied and understand the PEP as it is published on the Immigration and Customs Enforcement website. It says no such thing as Mr. Medina suggests, not even close. What it does do is replace the Secure Communities Act to help communities prioritize offenders already in custody under probable cause of breaking the law. It specifically provides timelines, forms, and procedures for interaction between local law enforcement and the federal government's department, ICE. Point B, police officers are not immigration officers. The same PEP requirements are applicable. Simply put, neither of our local law enforcement entities are now, nor have they ever been, engaged in the apprehension or detention of individuals solely according to legal status. We should not imply that they currently break the law. We should thank them for their good work with ICE in protecting the citizens of San Antonio and Bexar County and encourage them to continue. Point C, the City of San Antonio's moral calling. This one is quite easy. No city, any city, including the City of San Antonio, can have a moral calling to do anything. As citizens, individuals among us might feel a moral calling to take certain actions. Actually, I stand before you right now driven by a moral calling as one of the many benefits of living in a free society. In other words, promoters of this logic, scallywaggers, would have you ignore the 19,252 municipal governments across the United States that are not sanctuary cities. It means San Antonio would join the 1.04% and tell the 98.96% of American cities that they are completely out of touch. However, as stated at the outset, I am in support of declaring San Antonio a sanctuary city, just not for the reasons that Mr. Medina put forth. Scallywag. We must do things for the right reason. On the other hand, as the seventh largest city, we have a leadership responsibility. I believe that San Antonio should loudly declare ourselves as a sanctuary city for the following reasons. To provide sanctuary for Christians that are being persecuted on a worldwide basis, such as the protection to display a nativity scene at Christmas or the Ten Commandments wherever or where people engage openly in prayer and read the Bible without fear of retaliation. A sanctuary for our military personnel, active and veteran. A sanctuary for family values that are constantly being eroded to favor a vocal minority with differing views. A sanctuary free from the constant discord created by being hyphenated Americans. We are not Hispanic Americans, white, black, or Asian Americans, or any other dash American. Simply Americans. And finally, a sanctuary for the sanctity of life, from conception to a natural end. Yes, we should be a sanctuary for all these things and more. To make it easy to support these principles of a sanctuary city, we have a better acronym than Scallywag that states it plainly. A sanctuary assembled in nature's tradition, or SAINT. So I am here to ask, do you, San Antonio, want to be known as just another Scallywag? Or a sanctuary city as lawless looting yappers while aborting government? Or a saint, sanctuary assembled in nature's tradition? And I would put that out there, not just for San Antonio, but your hometown as well. You will understand as the show goes on how we can facilitate and participate in helping your hometown become a saint city. I think it is very important that we not just push back with a no, but we push back with a positive alternative. With that, let me grab a little sip of water, and I will be right back.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 877-212-5898. Again, 877-212-5898. That's 877-212-5898. 877-212-5898.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate the break. We are now going to have a couple more audio clips. The first is from a Republican senator from the state of Pennsylvania, a fellow by the name of Pat Toomey, who is very much opposed to sanctuary cities and the methodology by which it's being run or operated or forced or whatever from the federal government perspective. And then he is being interviewed on Fox News. And as I was searching, I found a relatively recent, and that's just from like a week or 10 days ago. And then the other one is probably about 4 months old. It's also from Fox News. A young lady by the name of Judge Janine Pirro. And as you know, when she puts her, or you don't, you should, when she puts her comments out there from time to time, she never pulls any punches. She puts it out there like it is.
That's true.
So follow along as we listen to these two clips. Thanks.
In the back of the book segment tonight, putting a stop to sanctuary cities. A horrific story out of Philadelphia involving 45-year-old Ramon Aguirre Ochoa, an illegal immigrant from Honduras. He was deported from the U.S. back in 2009, but he came back. And after facing local criminal charges in 2014 over another incident, ICE made a detainer request with Philadelphia officials to take him into custody and deport him yet again. But Philadelphia defied that request after the criminal charges were dropped and let Aguirre Ochoa go free. In a sickening development, he was arrested again late last month, accused of raping a 13-year-old or under child. Joining us now with reaction, Pennsylvania Senator Pat Toomey, who's helped lead the charge against ending sanctuary city policies. Thank you for joining us, Senator. Now, for a long time, you know, Bill O'Reilly has been pushing the Kate Steinle story, pushing the Kate's Law, which I think you were involved with as well. Tell us what is the latest. This is a sanctuary city bill in addition to the Kate's Law legislation.
You know, Eric, you really need both. You really need both because Kate's Law makes all the sense in the world. It says after you've come here repeatedly, illegally, you've been deported, and in addition you've committed violent crimes, then you're going to be subject to a stiff statutory minimum. But the reason you need the sanctuary cities law, right, to end sanctuary cities, is because you need to be able to grab these guys. What happened in Philadelphia, this appalling disaster, this monster raped a child, and he never should have been here. And the folks at ICE didn't want him here. They had asked the police department of Philadelphia to hold this guy until they could send an agent to pick him up and deport him. The city of the police department, their hands were tied by a very bad policy that forbids them from cooperating with federal immigration officials. It's terrible, and it's a security risk for all of us.
I think that's an important distinction to highlight, the fact that the local police, the law enforcement agencies want to turn these bad guys over to ICE, but they're told not to because of the politics.
Absolutely, Eric. I don't know a single police officer who supports these sanctuary city policies. They know these guys are bad guys. Look, remember, this is the Obama administration. They're not actually in the business of like wholesale deportation of illegal immigrants. The only ones they want to deport are people who are committing these violent crimes or suspected of committing violent crimes or being terrorists. And when a city like Philadelphia refuses to cooperate, even in those circumstances, then we get exactly this kind of situation. And by the way, this monster who's apparently raped a child, this could happen again. If he makes bail, or if for some reason the case against him falls apart and they have to release him, according to the current policy in Philadelphia, they will not inform ICE. They will just release this guy onto the streets of Philadelphia. This is terrible. Yeah. We've got to end this.
You mentioned something right there that I didn't even think of and didn't realize. Now, is there a distinction for terror as well? If these guys are suspected of terror, at that point, can they be turned over to the feds?
Eric, under the policies in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is not alone, but it does have one of the most extreme versions of this, even if the ICE officials suspect the illegal immigrant who's in detention, they suspect him of being a member of a terrorist organization, the city still won't cooperate.
How is that possible, Senator? How is it possible that a local, it's got to be a lawmaker, will tell the cops, look the other way, we may have a terrorist in our cell right here, and we're not going to turn him over to ICE, we're just going to let him free on our streets?
It's unbelievable. But that is the city government's policy. It's by executive order of the mayor. The previous mayor, by the way, there's bipartisan opposition to this. The previous mayor, Michael Nutter, rescinded this policy, put an end to it. The new mayor then restated it. The former mayor and governor, Ed Rendell, opposes this policy. The Obama administration even opposes it. But there are communities across America, and sadly including Philadelphia, that nevertheless refuse to cooperate.
Senator, this doesn't, your legislation doesn't get through the Senate. Why? We got to go. I don't have a lot of time. Just tell me, where's the holdup? How many more do you need? How many more signatures do you need?
We've had a vote. The problem is we don't have Democrat support for it. I held all but one Republican on my bill to end sanctuary cities, and we picked up only 2 Democrats. We need 60. The Democrats filibustered it, and so we weren't able to pass this.
So you're about 5 short or so.
It's just appalling.
Senator, we're going to leave it right there. Senator, very, very important story. Thank you very much.
Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Janine Pirro. Thanks for being with us. Tonight I want to talk to you about an issue under the radar for years, proving fatal to far too many Americans. There are more than 200 sanctuary cities in the United States where government employees and law enforcement cannot or do not report or share information or hand over illegals to immigration, even if federal authorities say they want them, even if the illegal is a career criminal. The concept of sanctuary cities is wrong. It is fundamentally flawed, and because of this mutinous refusal to follow federal law, you and your family are in real danger. So why? The premise is that this protects illegals from crime, and it fosters good relations between them and law enforcement. The problem? The sanctuary is for the illegal and not the American citizen. I, for one, am sick and tired of this politically correct nonsense. What is correct about allowing a career criminal who should not have been here in the first place to walk the streets? The facts are real. She was 32, walking with her dad along a San Francisco pier. He was a dirtbag, illegal career criminal. 7 felony convictions, 5 deportations under his belt. And Sheriff Ross Mercarimi, pursuant to his city's guidelines, refused to hand him over to the feds and let him walk the streets instead. The illegal took a gun and shot her dead. Before she expired, Catherine Steinle begged her dad, help me, help me. But it was too late. Sanctuary cities are safe havens for criminal aliens, not their innocent victims. In fact, Juan Francisco Lopez Sanchez admitted he came to San Francisco because it was a sanctuary. Now, let me make one thing clear. We are, all of us, immigrants. And unless you're a Native American, but most of us came here pursuant to the rules. In fact, the happiest days for me as both a sitting district attorney and judge were when I welcomed newly naturalized citizens who worked hard to get here and pledged their allegiance to America. So what to do? I'll tell you what to do. You enforce the law. If a city refuses to comply with federal warrants, they get no federal money. California gets $40 million a year to house criminal illegals until the feds pick them up. That's our money. And don't give me this have a heart nonsense. Americans are the most charitable, generous people on the face of the earth, and don't you dare ask us to create a zone of lawlessness and ignore the murder of innocent victims so some illegal criminal won't have to go home. Now, in true Washington style, the feds blame the sheriff, and the sheriff blames the mayor, and the White House blames the Republicans.
It's because of the political efforts of Republicans that we have not been able to make the kind of investment that we would like to make in securing our border and keeping our community safe.
Now, the Obama administration can blame anyone they want, but they're the ones who reportedly released 30,000 criminal aliens from our jails onto our streets. It was the Obama administration in 2012, through an illegal executive action, that said illegal teens could stay. And on the heels of that, an influx of 100,000 young people from Central America who were then flown on your dime into your neighborhood. And if I still haven't convinced you the president is enforcing his own sanctuary policy, consider this. The Department of Homeland Security reportedly instructed the California criminal illegals released from jail in 2013 be transferred to San Diego and Riverside counties. Why? Because they're sanctuary cities. Take a listen from the president's own mouth.
Now, our immigration system has been broken for a very long time, and everybody knows it.
I'll tell you what's broken, Mr. President. The hearts of American families who've lost loved ones at the hands of illegals who repeatedly commit crimes that you let walk the streets. Take a look at just a few of the victims' names. And by the way, Mr. President, pray tell, what exactly can we afford? More MS-13 gangbangers? More money for social programs? And don't lie to us, Mr. President. You were the one who closed down the Secure Communities program that allowed locals to share illegal fingerprints with the feds. Might you be creating more zones of lawlessness for us? And now you simply allow the wholesale rejection of federal law by sanctuary cities. And in 2010, your administration openly said cities that refuse to obey immigration laws would not be punished. And by the way, folks, can you imagine what the president would do if sanctuary cities refused to enforce civil rights laws, integration laws? The federal response would be swift, certain, and immediate. Now, for those of you who want to protect illegals and allow them to cooperate with law enforcement, no sanctuary is needed. The law is already in place. It's called a U visa. I used it as district attorney. If you're illegal and you want to report a crime, this visa protects you, allows you and your family sanctuary from deportation. So enough of this benign-sounding sanctuary nonsense that protects illegal criminals. At what point do we say these killings must end? Or are you willing to risk it to protect the criminal illegal? And who would it be okay to lose? Your son? Your mother? Or as Mr. Steinle did last week, his own daughter, Catherine? And that's my open. Tell me what you think on my Facebook page or Twitter, #Judge Janine.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas.
Call 1-800-352-3127. Again, 1-800-352-3127. A fee-based company.
Well, I'm going to make the assumption that you are not just joining us. You may not have been here from the very beginning, but this is Saint Cities by the Doc Owen Show. It is completely focused on sanctuary cities. This is a weekly show that will focus on sanctuary cities. If you've been with us for a little while, The most recent thing you heard before the commercial was a regular on Fox television, Judge Jeanine Pirro, with her inimitable style of presenting the truth, which is what Doc Owen Show is known for, delivering truth to youth. And she just has a way of cutting to the chase. And sometimes it can be a little harsh.
I like her voice. She's very strong lady. I like her.
I bet there's a lot of people in law enforcement that are glad she's on TV and not on the bench anymore. Not in law enforcement. They probably like her, but lawbreakers weren't crazy about her. But I felt like she is so hard-hitting that maybe we needed a little lighter, different view. We have some very good friends that were in a band called Madison Rising, and they have a song that has always been a particular favorite of mine.
Mine too.
They made their name doing a rock and roll version of the Star Spangled Banner that was the closing theme for Dinesh D'Souza's second movie. I mean, they've really come up with a God, country, and patriotism kind of rock and roll music. And they have a song called Before the Hyphens Came. If you will remember my words about Saint City Sanctuary assembled in nature's tradition versus a scallywag, then you'll remember what I said about we need a sanctuary from all the nonsense of Spanish Americans, Mexican Americans, whoever, Asian Americans. I've forgotten who all I included.
Just
but anything that's got a dash in front of America. We're all Americans. So to kind of soften the blow from Judge Jeanine, I'm going to, with permission, which is always the case, play the entire song for you. Get a feel for it. This is Madison Rising's Before the Hyphens Came.
TV on to wake up and clear my head. I catch the news in time to view another stirring of the pot. Talks of inequality and what people need, forgetting what they got. But in these times of opposition, the prejudice runs deep. Dividing us by heritage is all they ever preach. They tell us that they really care. To them it's just a game. 'Cause we were all Americans before the hyphens came. And people cared about who you were and less about your name. 'Cause we were all Americans before the hyphens came. Down along the line, someone had a great idea. Divide us up by heritage and profit from the fear. But growing up a while back, before the racial trends, whether immigrant, white or black, we just called each other friends. And if we spoke an extra language, it was just another way to pledge allegiance to the flag. God bless the USA. They tell us that they really care. To them it's just a game. 'Cause we were all Americans before the hyphens came. And people cared about who you were and less about your name. 'Cause we were all Americans before the hyphens came. Talking heads, there's one thing
Nice. Really nice. I hope you get the same feeling that I get when you listen to that. The lead singer, Madison Rising, at that time was a fellow by the name of David Bray, B-R-A-Y. David has since gone off on his own. He's got a Facebook page, probably a website called Brave Day USA, B-R-A-V-E-D-A-Y, where he just kind of played around with the end of Dave Bray and reversed them and became Brave Day USA. Clever. He's a very good man, and he's doing a lot of good work, so be supportive. That is, there's just something about that just always does his number on me. It may be because I can understand the words real well, but I feel it. I mean, that's exactly how it was when I was growing up. There was no such thing as a hyphenated American. As a matter of fact, we would not physically but verbally slap somebody around if they tried to play that game and say, "No, you're not. You know, you're one of us.
Right.
We're all here together."
Yep.
And we have been losing that battle. Mm-hmm. In doing the research, and you should know that this Saint Cities by Doc Owen Show is going to, I mean, this is weekly, once a week, same day of the week. We will be pushing out information on sanctuary cities. We've always had a once-a-week show, so we're now going to 3. So what's the one in the middle? The next one coming up is going to be the Campus Connection. And we're going to focus on, really focus on not just the truth to youth that we always deliver, but having the youth on the show and interactive. So, you know, we'll have thought leaders from college campuses across the country as well as high schoolers. There's a bunch of very bright, active, enthusiastic, engaged, well-versed Americans that we need to hear from. And so we're going to reach out to them and try to build that network. We just couldn't do it all. We couldn't do all we wanted to do and present all the messages we wanted to present and get involved in everything we wanted to do, doing it 1 hour a week. We just couldn't get there. And we couldn't see going to a once-a-week 3-hour show because it's a lot of work. I'd rather chop it up, you know. So we're doing 3 hours a week, but 1 hour at a time.
Have some variety.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And the Doc Owen Show is about, let's just call it somewhat normal talk show stuff. We always have real good interviews, real good folks that we've been able to get on the show, and then we talk a bit about current events, as we'll put it. But we always try to give it a youthful spin and direct it and make sure that we're reaching out to our audience. So glad you're with us. Saint Cities by Doc Owen Show is where you are. Let me tell you what I found when I was doing some research. Very, very encouraging, because it was very recently published in August of this year, matter of fact. How about that?
Wow, that's pretty, yeah. This month.
Yep. And it's from Human Life International. Okay? The title of the article is, "It's Time for Sanctuary Cities for Christians." Sounds like saint to me.
Yeah.
The reason we call it Sanctuaries Assembled in Nature's Tradition is, as we've been force-feeding the thought and the information to our audience for about a little over 3 years now, we're in our 3rd year. When you start talking about the Bill of Rights, the Constitution of the United States, and the Bill of Rights, those are nothing more than a codification or a structure or a written version of God-given rights. The government doesn't give those rights to you. God gave you those rights, but the government was established to protect them. That's what nature's tradition refers to. Sanctuary assembled in nature's tradition. Sanctuary assembled with God-given rights. Natural traditions. That's the meaning. Yeah, according to this article, it's time for our sanctuary cities for Christians. The word sanctuary comes from the Catholic Church, from Latin meaning holy place. The word was used in the early church and still is used to describe the place of the sacrifice of the Mass. It was also used in the Bible, compiled and translated by Catholics, to describe the holiest part of the temple in Jerusalem, the Holy of Holies. The word gained an additional meaning in the 14th century as a place of immunity from punishment when some were granted special protection from the law if they remained in Christian churches. Okay? Catholics and other Orthodox believing Christians and Jews have a special claim on the meaning and use of sanctuary. Maybe it's time we called in the ticket on this etymological loan to the world and start holding local political structures accountable to the truths that are now under attack at the federal and state level. We need sanctuary cities for Christians. This is a really this is a really interesting article, and it's kind of written in let's call it a little higher academic standard, and by that, if it goes beyond one page, if it won't fit on your screen on a Facebook post, then everybody thinks it's too long to read. We're so used to getting all of our information squeezed into 140 characters that it's kind of difficult for us to step back from that and kind of expand our thought process. But we should.
Yes, it's important.
Well, it's too easy to be misunderstood in 140 characters.
Yeah.
The Trumpinator is. So this thing goes on to say, it talks about exactly what we've been talking about. I'm not going to read it to you. I'll post it on the blog, the DocOwenShow.com blog. But, diving into the read of it might take us down a path where we don't need to go. So let's talk again. So you got a thorough understanding. I opened with why we're doing this particular show, and I'm going to close with that as well, because I want you to know where we're coming from and where we're going. The whole fight over sanctuary cities caused me to think, okay, I like the idea. Sounds good, because my version of sanctuary is exactly what I just read to you. It's a protective kind of a bubble. It's a place where you go that is your sanctuary, that no one's going to bother you, that you feel safe, that you are protected. And so, as the current vernacular has it, and as some of our guests tonight pointed out, it has become known as it's upside down. It has become known as a sanctuary for criminals. It has become known for a sanctuary for illegals present in our society, rather than a sanctuary for who it should be for.
That's right.
So I was thinking, all right, if we're going to create sanctuaries, where is my sanctuary? Where, I'm not going to move to it, but how do I create it rather than just push back and say no? I don't like your idea. The way I've been trained is I might push back and say I don't like your idea, and here's why, because I think I have a better one. So listen to my idea. And what we're going to put out there and continue to push is saint cities, sanctuary assembled in nature's tradition, for the brand of a sanctuary city for Christians, for conservatives, for all of the things that are currently under attack in this country. A sanctuary for non-hyphenated Americans, where everybody can just call each other by one last name. We're all one big melting pot like we always were. We're just all Americans.
That's right.
I mean, if you want to hold on to some of these things that are divisive, then go find yourself a different kind of sanctuary city to live in. Because there's got to be a place that is set aside that what I'm going to call traditional American values are not under attack. And by traditional American values, I mean the way that we used to live in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. Barely into the 70s, and then we started losing it. And it has to do with, I mean, some of you out there are old enough to remember not having to lock your door. You're old enough to remember not having to lock your car when it was in the driveway overnight, or worried about, things being disrupted or whatever. And it wasn't because there were fewer people around. It's because there were more people watching out for each other.
They all share the same values.
Yeah, the vast majority. Not 100%.
No.
You never get to 100%.
That's true.
And there's a lot of reason these saint city type places eroded and evolved into something that is really not, in my humble opinion, not American. And we need to, but rather than throw them out, we need to give them an alternative and help them understand why our approach to a saint city is in their best interest. Kind of like Judge Janine did in her little pitch. There's a reason. There's a reason that this country was and is as successful as it is, and it all starts at that community level, and it starts with assimilation, and it starts with things that we have given up on, or at least they're so much under attack by the media and by politicians peddling division instead of harmony, because it's in their best interest. It's easier, I think it's because, sorry to my friends that are lawyers, but I think part of the divisiveness is the fact that a lot of lawyers are also politicians. And lawyers are trained to start a fight. If there ain't no fight, they don't make any money. There's the brokest person in a small town is they have one lawyer. You got to have some way to start a fight. And that's the way they think. And then they think about winning the fight, and they have a tendency to forget what the cotton picking battle was about. Saint cities, S-A-I-N-T, sanctuary assembled in nature's tradition by Doc Owen Show. We really appreciate you being here. We will be on once a week, every Monday. Stop by. Tell your friends. Go to docowenshow.com. Give us some feedback. We really would appreciate it. Ms. Surefire, you got anything to add towards the end? Rut-row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.